Back again? Well, you're more consistent than your brother, John offered as he noticed me working on a full punching bag. I was ducking and sliding, making sure I was working my footing the best I could as I circled the bag. My legs getting a workout with how often I was shifting around and throwing hands. June's lazy about exercise. Prefers to just chrome up, I mentioned in short gasps as I backed off the bag for a moment and then moved back in a few punches to the side as if I was up close and punching kidneys. I might be fairly out of breath, but I was close to a level up. Most kids prefer that. You've got chrome arms, but still practice, pretty unusual, he said, and then walked over holding the back so it wouldn't bounce as much, letting me start hammering into the bag even harder and faster. Skill and strength aren't the same, I huffed out dryly as I looked at the older man who was looking over my form and seemingly finding no issues over my motions as I went wild, moving as fast as possible as I hammered chrome hands into the bag again and again. I was just glad I had actually put on the padded knuckle gloves that had been lying around. Otherwise I would have punched right through the damn thing. You know how to box? Boxing's one of the martial arts I actually had someone work with me on. I know an old guy that used to be a pro, I replied. Even if Vic had only given me the one lesson with Jackie that one time. It was still the truth and a better lie than nothing. You got something driving you? Something on your mind, kid? Huh? I asked as I backed off and did some stretches to cool down a bit. What do you mean? You've been out here punching the bag for over an hour. Something is driving you. Need to vent? The old man offered as he continued to hold the bag for me. I blinked, checking the time on my system before realizing I had lost track of time. Oops. Sure, I was tired. I was sweating up a storm and I was pretty out of breath, but that was all minor stuff. A nap and I would be back to 100% and feeling fine. But no one else knew that. I shook my head. I've had a lot of stuff happen in the last week or two. But I'm not letting it bother me. I just lost track of time. Hey. If I could get half the gonks that I train up to lose track of time like you, my job would be a lot easier. I didn't have anything to say to that, and as much as I wanted to try and get that body level up, I realized I had gone a bit overboard. I took off the gloves and set them to the side as I walked off. I heard a chuckle behind me, but I ignored it. Shower and then a nap. That was all I needed. Waking up refreshed that evening, I crawled out of my new bed and looked around the apartment. June's boots were gone, so I was alone. I sent a text out to the group chat, just to see how Malcolm was doing, and then instantly got flooded by replies. Motoko, how's Malcolm holding up? Malcolm, doing all right. Malcolm, Itchy's been smothering me and I just kicked him out of the clinic. So expect some whining. Ichi, Malcolm kicked me out of the clinic. Ichi, I'm not whining. I just wanted to make sure you're doing okay. Hiromi, I'm stuck finishing homework. Motoko, rescue me. Also Malcolm and Itchy have been whining about each other all day. Malcolm, we have not. Ichi, the hell we have. Hiromi, shut up. Hiromi, see? I laughed at the back and forth. It seems everyone was doing okay if Malcolm and Itchy could fight. Motoko, Preem. Reminder, once Malcolm is back on his feet we are going to have a big party. Malcolm, yes. See, this is what I wanted to hear. Itchy, yeah, alright, that sounds good. Know where you want to have it? I blinked at that. Then I remembered. I walked into the kitchen and found the flyer. I sent a picture to my chums. Motoko, maybe? There's a bar near where I am that does live music. Want to test it out? Or we could go hit Lizzie's? Malcolm, as much as I like Lizzie's, they don't like us much. Anyone been to this bar? Itchy, yeah. I made some deliveries there before the war. Harukia was nice enough, I guess. More of a music bar than the BD stuff we normally hang at. They have an entrance fee though. Hiromi, Ichi, we have money to pay for an entrance fee. Malcolm, you say that like we don't have Eddies. Hiromi beat me to it. Motoko, then I guess we get to try it out once Malcolm feels better. I nodded as the conversation flowed into background noise of messages popping in. I wanted to scope out how good Rockaboy Neighbor was anyways. Stupid cool jerk. I'd show them all. But first, I was so close to a new body level. Dash. The sound of the only thing they fear is you blasted through the apartment as I ran around. I couldn't rely on push-ups to try and get the body level, so I had decided to use acrobatics. I was currently flipping around the apartment from one wall to the next, ending each set with a cool spinning kick, or a faux Superman punch into the air, just to give myself something to do. It was exercise and actually pretty hard work, since I was sweating up a storm and getting my muscles burning. Then mid-afternoon finally it happened. 100 body XP gained. Body leveled up. Body 8. I stopped my routine as I felt the shudder go through my muscles. Breath in, breath out. I feel amazing, I whispered as I rushed to the bathroom and the mirror. It only took a few moments of checking my muscles to see the difference. Stronger. I felt stronger. I flexed my abs and grinned as it was definitely visible in the mirror. Hell yeah. Superhero abs. I exhaled in relief as I flopped onto the toilet for a moment. Sweaty. I mumbled as I quickly stripped and fell into the shower, letting the warm water wash it all away. Hey. It had been a while since I had tried to grind out a body point. I still wasn't exactly the type to exercise all the time, but I had to admit it did feel good. Plus it meant I could grind out athletics and street brawling again. I could go parkour and get something out of it. Well, other than just fun. That brought me up short. Fun. My system gave me incredible skills, power, talent. It let me do so many things. Like hunting scavs down like the dogs they are. But all of that was just what I could do. It wasn't who I was. Who I was someone who took those skills and had fun with them. I blinked as I wiped the water off my face. I got out of the shower, quickly drying off, and getting dressed, adjusting my boots to make sure they were nice and tight. I loaded up my normal gear just in case, but I could feel the beat of my heart urging me on. Quickly running to the music box, I copied a song to a shard. I had put together this song because I wanted it, and it had taken forever considering how many non-instrumental sounds it needed. But complete it was, and now I had the perfect idea for what to do with it. I headed up to the roof. Dash. The howl of wind blowing between skyscrapers, the stink of the city below me, and the California sky above. I was on the roof, but I wasn't as high as I could go. There was another section of the building that had almost Japanese-styled penthouses. I was sure some high-end Arasaka, or TC guy lived up there. I quickly bounced my way up, climbing along the side of the building, hitting AC units, and piping until I reached the penthouse. I winced a bit at all the security, but I ended up just worming around it as I climbed over Japanese-style tile roofing until I reached the very top. Okay. It was time. I blinked in between one moment and the next. A BD recording began. I had considered doing a test run first, to find all the right spots, but I trusted parkour and my own mobility. We were doing it live. It was just better that way. I pulled a shard out of my pocket, flashed it before my eyes. I was getting callbacks to Only Thing They Fear BD. But this wasn't that. This one Judy might actually like. Inner Universe was scratched into the shard. I pushed it into my port and let my agent play the song in my ear. And as the notes began, I moved. I ran leaping off the roof to the short wall that surrounded the Japanese garden, then leapt again, completely free-falling into the night city sky. For just a moment, I was motionless, perfectly still. Then I reached out, snagged a pipe that I was falling past, pulling myself into the building so my boots could slow my descent, slowing enough until I hit an angled roof, where I was able to bleed a bit more of the fall speed off, as I slid down, and then once more I was in the sky. I landed 20 feet below in a roll on a bridgeway between the buildings, immediately jumping to my feet as I ran across the roof of the walkway. I could hear people below me wondering at the noise, but I ignored them. Leaping off the side, another drop, another rolling landing, and I was moving all the way across the street, running along the roofing of the buildings across from the new apartment. I leapt over bits and bobs, noticed the Asian lanterns that hung down from the side of the building, noticed the wire they were hooked through, and the idea flowed. I drew my knife as I flowed into a power slide. Grabbing the wire, I slid off the roof, falling a good 3 or so feet before the wire snagged. Then I cut it with my knife. The back end of my blade had wire cutters and in a second I was falling again. Sheathing my knife, I managed to wrap the wire around my chrome hands a few times so I had a good grip as I fell. Above me the pittering noise of the studs drilled into the concrete that the wire had been hooked into popped loose one by one, and then it happened. The wire at the end was attached to a much stronger cable tie. And instead of falling, I was swinging. My stomach flew up into my throat as I flowed through the air. For a second there I was Spider-Man. Then of course, because this was flying by the seat of my pants, I realized I was about to slam right into one of those concrete walkways. I reached up, grabbed the wire and tugged myself up, fighting the centrifugal force, shifting my trajectory just in time so instead of slamming into the side I was able to bring my legs up and swing right into the open side window. I let go of the wire, holding onto it would only see me smashing into the roof as the wire caught, but I was still in trouble. Too fast. I slammed my boots into the concrete, which sent me tumbling, but also pushed me up just enough that instead of slamming into the concrete barrier on the other side of the walkway I went through its window as well, sending me hurtling out the other side in a deadly tumble. My heart was hammering in my chest. My breath was coming out in a rush. I couldn't even hear the music over the adrenaline spiking. But I moved, using my chrome to come down on the roof first to protect myself. I managed to get myself under control as chrome left trails of sparks across the concrete that I was skimming across. I was very thankful for my boots and pants, because I could feel the road rash starting to build up where my pants weren't as armored. Then I was at the end of the line. Still sliding. Still going too fast to stop, but the roof ended ahead of me. So I stopped trying to slow down and instead once more used my boots to slam into the concrete and bounce me up. I was in the air. The music was there, and I knew what to do. The flow of motions that were required to keep me alive flowing through me, and I moved. Reaching out, I grabbed a pipe, spinning me around it twice as I started falling, then letting go, sending me out once more, but this time at the right trajectory to reach an apartment balcony. I rolled into the little concrete cube of personal space and then bounced up and into the next, and then again before my speed was under my control, and then I was up on the guardrail along the edge of the little rectangular balconies, running across them at full speed. Almost there. I had fallen quite far at this point. Only a few floors above the street level I was coming to the end of the street, where it curved, but that was fine. I leapt out and this time I landed on the street lights. They shifted and swayed under my weight, but held, and then I was running along the top and then to the light across the road, and then further. I was close to Mega Building H8 now. I could practically touch it as I ran along, but that wasn't where I was going. Instead I leapt down, hurtling from the floor level I had been at, into the gloom. The noise below me shifted from city streets, to back alley deals, to the sounds of pleasure and anger. Jig Jig Street. I moved along the rooftops, staying in the dark, hidden from view from anyone not willing to look up. As I flowed through the area, leaping from sign to sign, from windowsill to corner apartment, that I actually rolled into and then out the window, ignoring the scream of surprise from the John the Joy toy had been working over behind me. Then I was just above the street-level main entrance to the back alley, and there it was. I leapt, this time not landing atop a street light, but grabbing it and flipping around, then releasing, setting myself on a course, avoiding the giant eldritch statue that was above my target, and landing firmly on the sidewalk right next to the stairs down into Sakura Market. Then I was walking calmly and steadily, feeling my heart beating, and my breathing still rushing in and out as I cooled down, to my favorite place. I plopped down at the ramen place, and since I was still recording didn't say a word. Just pointed towards what I wanted. A moment later the ramen was rolled out to me, and I didn't turn off the BD until the taste of the broth was on my tongue. Dash. Ow. I whined as Vic gave me a look. Don't complain about it, if you are going to do it, he told me, and could only pout a bit. What did you even do to scrape down your chrome like that? Malcolm called from across the room. He was still resting in the Ripper chair, although he would be heading home soon. His mom wanted to bring him home to mother him. I had come to see Malcolm after ramen. Definitely just for that. Not because my hands looked like I had run them against a grinder. Most of the chrome was okay, but at certain points, well, the concrete hadn't been kind to it, and it felt like I had an exposed nerve. So I had Vic looking it over. Nothing. Perfectly normal stuff. Not at all weird or strange. I denied Malcolm, who laughed once before wincing at his side. Most of the pads are okay, but I'll need to replace a bit here, he said, sounding like he was mostly talking to himself, but saying it loud enough I could hear it. He pulled back and rolled across the clinic, pulling open a crate and rummaging through it. A few moments later he comes back with a sealed plastic bag. Inside were basically chrome pieces. Let's see, he muttered, and then unsealed the bag, reached in with his Ripper gear-covered hand and came out holding a piece of chrome. There we are, he muttered, resealing the bag, and then leaned over my hand. A moment later I felt a tickling sensation as he did something and a piece of my palm disconnected, revealing wires and sensors below. Then he placed a new piece of chrome down and had to keep from wiggling as the ticklish feeling surged up my arm. Then it just soothed away and Vic nodded, checking his little monitor device. Connection is good. Test it out for me, he mentioned, and arm was released and I started poking at the cleaner section of chrome on my palm. Yeah. Feels normal. Good. Be more careful, okay kid? Yes. Sorry Vic. The old Ripper laughed at me, before patting my shoulder. Should be all good. Let me know if you have any problems. Dr. Vector, is Malcolm ready? A voice called out, and I turned towards the entrance to see Malcolm's mom. The woman still looked a little tense after the shooting. Let me check his vitals one last time, but unless something's changed, he's all set. Vic assured the woman. His calm attitude did help. As he finished patting my shoulder and rolling over to check on Malcolm, I ended up sticking around to help Malcolm out of the clinic and into his mom's car. He hadn't liked the fact that I had carried him up the stairs in a princess carry. The pictures were worth it though. I arrived at Lizzie's not long after. The saved BD of my parkour performance should be pretty fun. Hopefully Knox would be able to sell it. Or not. I mean, the BD creation thing was more for me than anything. Unfortunately I was stopped at the door by Rita. I waved a hand at her as I approached, but was stopped instantly as she reached out and grabbed my shoulder. Mona, take over for me? She called out to another bouncer suddenly. Sure, it's. The other bouncer called back, and then I was pushed inside and into the side room by Rita. Rita? I want to know, Motoko, before anything else. Are you okay? I blinked. Yes? I mean, I had Vic my Ripper do some work on my hands earlier. Boo, she shook her head, cutting me off. The Borg woman settled both of her hands on my shoulders, even bending down a little so we were at the same height. Motoko, I saw your BD. The one with the song, and with you going completely cyber psycho on the scavs. Rita said, dropping a bomb, and I winced. Damn it. Was that still causing me trouble? That was supposed to have been fun. Well, I mean, it was. Like super fun. But that was besides the point. I hated when fun things I did caused problems later. I'm fine, Rita. Honest. I was doing an experiment that night to go along with the song that I wrote, and... Motoko. Rita cut me off, sounding really serious. You sound okay. You look okay, and you aren't closed off or freaking out, but I've seen a lot of people I thought were okay with a smile on their face as they murdered people they loved and cared for. I was just trying something different. Letting myself get super angry, even forcing it a bit. Kid, you were absolutely wrecked during that BD. If I had been hit half as hard as that scav punched you, I'd be down for the count. I'm pretty tough. Look, I said, spreading my arms. I'm not hurt. All healed up. Vic my Ripper does great work. Took care of me. Yes, I went overboard. I even admitted that to myself. I did the music and I thought it would be cool to be all brutal like that, but it's sorta. The music wasn't supposed to be that. It was supposed to be the thing that pulls me away from that sort of stuff. That was the whole point. So yeah, I fucked up. Rita continued to watch as I sort of rambled before sighing. And then to my surprise she pulled me into a hug. She was pokey. All the spikes, I mean. So you aren't going cyber psycho? You mean it? I'm actually doing okay. I mean, I've been super irritated recently with the scavs attacking my home, and the move to a new place, and the TC boss Fujimura keeps wanting to get me to admit to being his underling, and it's annoying. If he is bothering you, we can take care of that for you. she said then, and I couldn't help but feel warm at how quickly she offered to basically fight a TC boss for me. Rita was good people. Nah. He's June's boss. And he got us a new apartment. June is over the moon about it, cause it's all big and I have a much bigger room now and stuff. It's just different and I didn't want different. Fujimura, despite being a little pushy, hasn't crossed the line. Humph. Well, when he does. She offered and I smiled. I don't think I would want to get the Mox involved in my trouble. But I appreciate it. Rita scoffed but nodded, reaching out and resting a hand on my shoulder. If you need to talk, don't forget you have friends here. You aren't the first young girl to show up here with family and other gangs needing help. I don't need help. Not yet. I added at her unconvinced look. June is great, and Fujimura is annoying, but he hasn't pushed past the line. Like I said, a lot of things have changed and it's just making me uncomfortable. Then remember, I'm always willing to listen. Come on then, you're here to see Judy, right? She asked as she finally pulled away from me, and I noticed she looked a little uncomfortable herself. Yeah. I did a new BD focused around parkour instead of other stuff. It was preem. I leapt off the side of the building I'm on and made it all the way to Sakura Market. Rita shivered a bit as I spoke as she guided me out of the room. You leapt off a building? Yeah. A couple times. Rita shivered again and it made me realize something. Rita is afraid of heights. Probably not a BD for you then. No, I don't think so. I dropped off the BD with Judy only after swearing this BD wasn't some gore fest that would make her want to clean her fingers from brain matter again. Then I was driving back to the apartment, flopping onto the couch and wondering what to do next. I once again heard the faint thump of bass through the floor and knew what I had to do. I got up and grabbed my guitar and went at it. I needed more songs. More music. I had to defeat the rocker boy neighbor. So I jammed out. Working on some Foo Fighters, because I was already doing Nirvana. Might as well. But the idea hit me, and I stopped midway through the Pretender to work on another song. Think by Collider. I'll Never Break Your Heart. I jammed out, having had some trouble getting the drums for the song right since they weren't normal drums, but I found the right instrument sound eventually. Now I had a John Wick song. It took a good couple hours to get the track done, and then I went back to the Foo Fighters. More songs. More music. More levels. Long into the night. After June had come home and gone to bed. While working on tweaking some of the hologram motions. Making me play through the Pretender again, for what felt like a millionth time. It happened. Rockaboy skill level up. Rockaboy 8. Yes. I cheered, leaping up onto the couch to celebrate. I could feel even more musical knowledge flow into me. At this point, it would be an actual surprise if I flubbed a chord while playing anything but the hardest songs. What are you three doing? I asked as I was brought into Malcolm's apartment. Around the TV laying around the couches were three teenagers that looked like they were in a full food coma. So many snacks. Malcolm moaned from where he was laid up. His feet up on an ottoman and a blanket over most of him. The many bags of chips and things that surrounded him told a story. It's all Itchy's fault, he moaned. The boy in question didn't say anything, just continued to stare into the ceiling with a dazed look in his eyes. Hiromi was here too, to my surprise, and while she wasn't as bad as the boys, she looked like she got into a fight with a cake and lost. I walked over and she threw me a big smile as she lay half on the couch and half off. Leaning down, I wiped the bit of frosting that was stuck on her cheek. You three look like you got in a fight with your snacks and lost, I told them as I stuck the bit of frosting into my mouth. Huh? That was almost chocolate. Uck. Ichi moaned without shifting his dead-eyed stare at the ceiling. What did you guys do? I asked, laughing. I had gotten the message that everyone wanted to meet up in the morning, but I had been. Well, I was napping after leveling Rockaboy. So after looking at the message and seeing it wasn't an emergency, I went back to sleep. So I was late to this party. It's Ichi's fault, Hiromi informed me, looking up at me with a big smile. It's Hiromi's fault, Ichi retorted. I said I would get snacks. So Hiromi dragged me to this crazy corpo shop. Everything was expensive, but they had all sorts of stuff, Ichi said in turn, still glazed out. Sakugo is a very valuable member of the Arasaka conglomerate that ensures that traveling Arasaka members can always find their hometown snacks even across the world. Hiromi replied, speaking in a cadence that made me think she was repeating something she had heard before. Of course Ichi and Malcolm both instantly started throwing whatever snack they had on hand at her, so I quickly backpedaled away to avoid the friendly fire. Hey. You all enjoyed the snacks. Don't give me that. Some of it was good. Malcolm agreed, and I couldn't help but chuckle at the look Hiromi threw at the crew. A few chips stuck in her hair as she stood up with all the dignity she could retain and headed into the bathroom to clean up. I walked over and after pushing some chip bags out of the way settled near Malcolm. How you feeling, Chum? Hey Motoko. I'm actually feeling pretty good. I'm able to get up and walk around now without any pain or anything. Dr. Victor did tell me to just take it easy for another week or so, but that I was good to do normal things. I've got a checkup tomorrow to be basically cleared for light stuff, Malcolm offered with a smile even as he tugged up his shirt a bit, showing the scar on his chest and side. Both looked a little red still, but more like irritated scar tissue than recently damaged wounds. Healing nicely. Yeah. Hey Motoko. It still feels like it hasn't hit me yet, you know? That I was so close. He offered, and I felt the light-hearted conversation change as he went serious. I just wanted to thank you for saving me. I was just glad I got there in time, I said honestly. I was once again thankful I didn't dream if I slept under the system. I really didn't want to deal with the nightmares I would be sure to have. Hey. Yeah. I wasn't getting through to anyone until I called you. I'm glad. I'm really glad you picked up. I nodded, and then, probably to Malcolm's surprise, I bent down and drew him into a hug. We're chums. Of course I would do everything I could to save you. Yeah. Thanks, Chum. Hey. Hugging Motoko without me? I refuse. Hiromi called out as she came back into the living room and instantly rushed over to Malcolm's surprise. She jumped into the hug, pulling Malcolm and I tight. I am not doing a group hug, Ichi called out from the other side of the couch. Group hug on Ichi? I gasped in delight, and after a moment of helping Malcolm up to not jostle him too much, we all collapsed on our other chew, much to his irritation when Hiromi just ended up sitting on him instead of actually hugging him. While we all vegged out on the couch spending the rest of the day hanging out, I sent the text to Jackie to wrap up the gig. Since Malcolm would be back on his feet soon, it was time to put out some bait. That night Section 9 met up in my net running cave. Even Malcolm was here. Although with some help from the straight lane shooters above, I had found a nice couch and brought that in so Malcolm was able to be comfortable. Even if his whining about us treating him like an invalid was getting old. I'm feeling fine, guys. You don't have to baby me. He continued to harp as we had set him up with not just the couch, but a table close by he could rest his laptop on, along with some blankets and things. Vic hasn't given you the all clear yet, I reminded him, and he rolled his eyes. Only because I have the final checkup in the morning. Really? I'm fine. Here, Malcolm, make sure to stay warm, okay? I said, purposefully adjusting the blanket around his feet so his toes would stay warm. He faux-kicked me that had me laughing, but I did stop bothering him then. There was a reason we had all gathered here. Malcolm had originally set up the car trade through a reliable website he went to for car trades, or at least he considered it reliable. Either way, if the gonks that attacked him were using it, that meant they were just as likely to come back and use it again. So it was time to set some bait. Okay everyone. First thing first. Malcolm, let's check out your car trade site. I'm going to slip in, so we can send the fake car trade out. I'll be making sure our guys see it. I grinned. I smiled ferally as I thought about what was going to happen to these fucks. Alright. I'll set up the actual offer since I know what they look like. Malcolm agreed, and Hiromi and Ichi would be working on backing me up. I settled into my net-running chair and took a moment to attach all the connections into my net-running suit, shivering a bit as the coolant pump started sending ice over my skin. Then I sat back, and since I had it, I flipped the net goggles over my eyes. I didn't really need them, but they were cool. Then in a blink I was in the net. The entire digital world set out before me. Okay, seriously Motoko. You need to set up a lobby, I whispered to myself, looking over the blank pillar that I stood on. but I shook it off and stepped off and into the web. Unlike when heading to Yoko's, I didn't have the direct IP, so I had to actually look for the website. I walked along neon lights. The road non-existent below me. In some places, bad connections or old wiring caused the world to flicker or turn to static, and of course the figures that I walked past were mostly inhuman figures. Demons, for search engines and things that normal people use. This world was something I had only touched on the most shallow ends of. I would have to explore down here more sometime. But for now I followed along the lines towards the website, using a search engine to basically create a path for me to reach the server I was looking for. When I got there I had to roll my eyes. So much spam. The entire outside of the server was covered in spam demons. Little goblin creatures that would attack any demon or access request and try to flood them with their carried spam. The first one that tried to attack me was melted with my Hellflame on 2.132 hack. Watching the demon melt into digital sludge along with its spam funnily sent the rest of the pack hiding away. It took me a moment to realize this was something their creator must have come up with. No one wanted days of work on their demons to be removed because they annoyed a netrunner after all. So they must have been programmed to ignore anyone that managed to destroy one of them. I would have left it at that, but 250 XP gained. I grinned and flames burst into my hands as I activated my eyes to slow the demons down, keeping the programs from being able to escape into the net as I cut them all down. 1500 XP wasn't something I was just going to ignore. I walked into the server ignoring the flaming chunks of demon I left behind. I stepped into the chipper bright lights of the server. It was kinda badly designed though. Instead of the white room having multiple exits to other sections of the server, it was like they hadn't realized they could section off things and just plopped everything into this one room. I bet this server lagged like hell when it was in use. The different sections of the server were set up like stands? No, it was more complete than that. As if someone had just taken a massive room and just plopped square rooms in different places. At least it told me something important. If this place did have netrunner security, I wasn't fucking worried. I walked up to one of the rooms that had admin login on the door. It didn't take me long to get the door breached open and let me in. I wrinkled my nose. Fucking spaghetti code. I grumbled aloud as I took in the mess of wires leading to different control options. Definitely not a netrunner, because any netrunner worth their salt would see this fucking mess of admin tools and just burn it all to the ground and start fresh. I spent more time finding the user information than I did breaking into the admin side of the server. Finally I was able to pull up Malcolm's info from this side and find his request looking for a Rayfield Caliburn. I spent a minute just arguing with myself about wanting to hit Malcolm after. This site wasn't a reliable car trade site. Malcolm, you fucking gonk. You just searched car traders or something and found a random site, didn't you? Regardless, I was able to see the contact, the one that had confirmed they had what Malcolm was looking for. Pulling up an auto repair from the message he had sent Malcolm, the first noticed something pretty quick. Arseholes had been doing this for a while. About 20 different messages just like the one Malcolm had gotten were sent out from the profile. All confirmed the car they had on hand with pictures that looked normal. Only the fact I was able to see all of them clued me into the fact they were all taken from all over the city and likely either something they had just noticed on the side of the street and snapped a picture of, or stolen from somewhere else. Irritated at such a stupid scam, I dug in. They had actually been active a few times since Malcolm's shooting, although they certainly hadn't sent out anything. Okay guys, I'm in the site. Go ahead and upload that car trade. I called out to the team as I settled in to get this crappy site to do what I needed. A moment later a new advert was added into the sea of requests and trades. Within a few moments I added a bit of code into the request. Next time auto repair logged in, they would see the request we just added in right near the top of the new page. No matter how long it took, whether it was tomorrow, or a week from now, our advert would show up as if it was pretty new. Okay, I pulled out, walking out of the server and back into the open electronic city. The bait was set. Now we just had to wait for a bite.